in the remote wilds of Siberia, where endless forests stretched to the horizon and winters locked the land in silence, there lived a man named Valentin. His cabin stood alone at the forest's edge, a small wooden structure weathered by decades of snow, wind, and rain. The nearest village was hours away by foot, and Valentin had no wife, no children, no living family to keep him company. His life was quiet, not empty, but shaped by solitude. Though he had never been to school, Valentin was far from unlearned. He knew the land better than any map, could read the sky for weather, and track an animal through snow, as if following a painted trail. His neighbors respected him for his honesty, his work ethic, and his stubborn resilience in the face of hardship. So, when the Forest Service offered him a position as a ranger, it felt natural to accept. It was a job made for him, spending days patrolling the wilderness, ensuring the forest remained safe and untouched by harm. Most mornings, he would rise before the sun, dress in his thick coat and boots, and step into the biting cold. The forest was his domain, and each patrol was like visiting an old friend. It was on one such morning, a bitter, cloudless winter day, that everything changed. The snow was deep, forcing him to take slow, measured steps. His breath came in steaming clouds, and the silence of the forest pressed in on him. He stopped briefly to catch his breath when a faint sound reached his ears, a whimper. It was so soft, so fragile, that at first he thought the wind was playing tricks on him. But then it came again, a high, pained cry, quickly swallowed by the stillness. Valentin's instincts sharpened. He turned toward the sound, moving through the snow with quiet care. Strangely, each time he drew closer, the sound stopped. He was beginning to doubt himself when it came again, much nearer this time. He brushed aside a snow-covered bush and froze. Curled into a shivering ball was a tiger cub. Its fur was dusted with frost. Its sides rose and fell with labored breaths. A dark stain of blood spread across its flank, and deep bite marks marred its body. One leg lay twisted, clearly broken. The cub looked up weakly, its eyes glassy, and let out a soft, pitiful cry. Valentin's chest tightened. A cub this young, injured, and alone would not last long. He knelt, speaking in a low, calm voice, then slid his arms beneath its frail body. It was shockingly light, little more than skin, bone, and fur. The journey back to his cabin was slow and grueling. Snow clung to his legs, and the weight in his arms seemed heavier with each step. But he did not stop until they reached his door. Inside, he laid the cub on a bed of old clothes, then set to work. He cleaned the wounds with warm water, wrapped them in strips of cloth, and fashioned a splint for the broken leg from sticks and twine. When he was done, he warmed milk on the stove and held it under the cub's nose. For a moment, there was no reaction. Then the faint scent stirred something in the little creature. It sniffed, then began to drink, slow, tentative sips that filled Valentin with relief. That was the first step. In the days that followed, Valentin devoted himself to the cub's care. He fed it, kept it warm, and spoke to it often, his voice filling the cabin with a gentle rhythm. Slowly, the cub's strength returned. Weeks passed, and the wounds healed. A jagged scar remained on its leg, a permanent reminder of its struggle. Valentin named him Gore. By the 6th month, Gore had grown into a striking young tiger. His muscles were strong, his coat thick and glossy, his eyes bright with life. He often padded alongside Valentin on patrols, bounding ahead through the snow or lying in the grass like an oversized house cat. Valentin's days were warmer with Gore in them. The silence of his life was replaced by the sound of paws crunching snow, the occasional playful growl, and the quiet comfort of shared company. But he knew it could not last. Gore was a wild animal, and the forest was his true home. One spring morning, Valentin made the decision he had been avoiding. He led Gore deep into the forest, to a quiet clearing where the sunlight dappled the snow. Kneeling beside the tiger, he stroked his head and whispered a farewell. Then he turned and walked away. But when he glanced back, Gore was following. Valentin stopped. "Go," he said softly. The tiger blinked, unmoving, his heart aching. Valentin did the only thing he could think of. He raised his voice in anger, shouting and waving his arms. Gore had never seen such a display from him. Startled, the tiger took a step back, then turned and melted into the shadows. The walk home was long and empty. Years passed. Valentin's hair turned gray, and his steps grew slower. He never saw Gore again. Eventually, the memory of the tiger became like an old photograph in his mind, still vivid, but tucked away. Then his health began to fail. One winter afternoon, he collapsed in the snow during patrol. A passing hiker found him and rushed him to the hospital, where the doctors told him his kidneys were failing. Surgery could save him, but the cost was more than he could afford. He refused, returning to work despite his declining strength. 6 months later, his condition worsened. He moved slower, took more breaks, but still patrolled. The forest had been his home too long to abandon. Then came the day that would change everything. It was summer when Valentin noticed a thin column of smoke rising in the distance. He frowned, quickening his pace. Within minutes, the forest erupted into chaos. A wildfire had broken out, and the wind was driving the flames toward him with terrifying speed. He turned to run, but his body betrayed him. His legs ached, his lungs burned, and the heat pressed at his back like a living thing. He stumbled and fell hard, the taste of ash filling his mouth. The fire roared closer, the air shimmered with heat. He knew no one would reach him in time. Closing his eyes, he prepared to meet his end. Then, heavy footsteps. Valentin opened his eyes. Out of the haze of smoke, a massive tiger emerged, its amber eyes locked onto his. For a heartbeat, fear gripped him, but the tiger did not attack. Instead, it gripped his jacket in powerful jaws and began dragging him away from the flames. A burning tree crashed nearby, blocking their path. The tiger dropped him, sprang forward, and shoved the smoldering branches aside, singeing its own fur. Then it returned, nudging him to move. Together they made their way down the slope, away from the fire's deadly reach. When they reached the cabin, Valentin collapsed, gasping. The tiger stood before him, chest heaving, its striped coat streaked with ash. And then Valentin saw it, the scar on its leg. His breath caught. Gore! The tiger lifted its head at the name, letting out a deep, rumbling roar. It stepped forward and pressed its head gently against his leg, a gesture full of familiarity. Valentin's eyes filled with tears. Before he could speak again, Gore turned and walked back toward the forest. Valentin watched until the tiger disappeared into the trees. His heart ached, yet was full. "Thank you," he called into the wind, his voice breaking. "Thank you. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more incredible stories.